For us pianists, the epitome of the Faustian world is Liszt's Mephisto-Waltzer that all teenage pianists and older want to play and get super excited about, the highlight of pianistic music.
The production was behind, they were making noise. Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
Just somehow the music was a little bit too plain and a little bit too dated and a little bit too wannabe ethnic without being really it was more the flavor than the essence.
Tough, very difficult, extremely critical. If you are a fan of the creator of the infinite lines.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to the newest episode of What's on Vienna, and let me try to get our beautiful opening phrase in one go. Your immersive guide in the sometimes overwhelming world of the classical music and arts events in the city. I got it right.
Amazing.
I did good. So we are now in the very high autumn. Can you say that? No, probably not. You can say high summer. If you can say high autumn, I don't think so. But we're really in the middle of very, very gloomy, dark autumn season, which is good for one thing: listening to music and enjoying the arts. And of course, listening to us.
Really curious about what is it good
for?
The
cozy season. Cozy season is made for the arts. So, what do you have for us today?
Something very exciting is going to happen in November. The Viennese premiere of Alice in Wonderland after Lewis Carroll by Unsuk Chin.
What is it?
The opera.
The
opera. Don't pretend.
Nice.
Opera by one of the most prominent composers of our time. I think she received more than dozens of awards that would be equivalent of Nobel Prize in music, Oscar in music, many awards for her works. But the beginning of her musical path was very, very difficult. And she was born in Korea in the time when it was very tough. She describes herself that it was mostly about surviving, and her family didn't have financial possibilities to support her regular music lessons. So she basically was learning herself. So she had some lessons, but not regularly, and her dream was to become a pianist. And she started when she was, I think, very, very young. I think her father was a priest and he bought an instrument for the church. Okay. So that was the first time she saw an instrument and immediately was very well attracted to it. And then when she was 6 or 7, 8, she even accompanied the services in the church. And she talks very funny about it, that when the people got excited, they would go high in the tonality. So she had to spontaneously change the tonality.
So she's like a young Mozart, basically.
Yeah, but she didn't have any support, even being apparently so talented. And she was kind of earning money with it, like at that age. And when she was 13, her teacher from the school, he suggested to be maybe more interested in composing, and she heard that as your dream of becoming pianist is off, like you're never going to be. So she was very upset, she was crying a lot, but eventually she started to be interested in that. And also listening to a lot of music and basically learning herself. Mm-hmm. And then she tried to go to the University of Seoul for 3 times. So they didn't take her for the first time, second time, and for the third time they admitted her. She says that because there were not enough applicants, so it was her luck. I don't know, but according to her. And after that, after a few years, she went to Germany to study with Gheorghe Ligeti, which is quite incredible, And that time was also not easy. She said that there were two possibilities of being a student of Ligeti. One, you go to the mental institution, and the other one is you stop composing, which she did for some time. But eventually
Why is that? Excuse me. Was he so tough?
So tough. Very, very difficult, extremely critical. And she said that most of the things he talked about, she couldn't understand. And other students apparently also.
Okay.
And just after 20, 30 years, through her experience, she started to understand what he meant all this time. And he was extremely tough. Okay. And although some consider her favorite student of him.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I mean, she extremely. Okay. I mean, probably it is true, but as you know, it's very often it happens when the teacher is very interested in a student. That he or she might be more critical and more
Okay. So how did she restart?
I don't know how she restart, but I was surprised that she stopped also for some time. And now we are coming finally to the opera moment. So when she decided to write an opera, she didn't really have a material that would inspire her, that would excite her. She tried many fairy tale stories. Nothing really worked. And as you might know, Gheorghe Ligeti, he was really interested in the story of Alice in Wonderland. So
I didn't know this.
So he was talking a lot also with his students about this story, about all these philosophical aspects and how many levels are there in that story. So she had this kind of in the back of her mind as a story, and she was also fascinated by it. So they they were sitting with a publisher and talked about it and decided to investigate if this idea of Ligeti is kind of doable by him. So apparently he was busy with other stuff, and it seemed like he was not going to write an opera with the story. So they took the Alice in Wonderland, and she wrote the opera. It took her about 4 or 5 years. I'm very curious what kind of staging will be in Vienna, because she was at first really not happy with the first production, and you might want to go even now and have a little bit of impression how the first production looked, so you know what she's talking about.
On YouTube it is available.
On YouTube, yeah. There is a whole opera, at least from this first production.
So she didn't have a lot of possibility to say how she wanted it staged?
Not really. Strange. I was so surprised because at that point, of course, she was already, she had very strong position. And basically what she says, I don't know, that stage director came to the first meeting, and basically they said that I'm not interested in the story. It's going to be music, and in the parallel reality, the staging. So I'm not interested in Alice in Wonderland, in showing it literally. So, and there was no cooperation, no teamwork. She said that the musical team was kind of in front during the process of preparation. The production was behind. They were making noise. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I guess it was distracted.
Of course, you might remember this. Sorry to go off topic a little bit. This is a huge debate in traditional opera staging, that a lot of audiences are very unhappy with at times ridiculous creative differences that stage directors will take, right? It seems to be very in fashion as of last 10 years to have a parallel story developing that has nothing to do with the story of the opera, which I personally consider very distracting and at times annoying. Another thing I know from my colleague singers, and I don't know if it's still true, but in the past they would say that oftentimes the singers themselves, when signing contract, would not know what kind of staging publishing, they are agreeing to. And then you come and it can be like something completely ridiculous and you've already signed. I don't know if this is exaggerated or it's completely true, but it's interesting that even someone at her level with her reputation bringing her work had to deal with this and not having the input. But sorry for the distraction.
It didn't seem like she tried to change it. It was she was just describing the experience.
Okay.
So she was not really, she didn't really understand it so much because the singers couldn't move.
Okay.
And but later, when there were more productions and that were more kind of showing the story, she appreciated the first one, and she said that those ones were more boring for her, and the first one was actually great.
So we should wait and see.
I'm very much curious about it because I mean she's extremely interesting composer and personality, and it seems like it's a great fit with the story, the way she works with music. So I'm very much excited. And the premiere is in the second half of November, but the introduction talk is already now in the beginning of November. That's why we are talking about this opera.
So it is possible to attend the introduction talk and hear more about the work. I think it is really important for pieces like that to have an opportunity to be explained to the audience, to help them maybe get more in the mood and appreciate. I know that it helps me personally to enjoy the works. It is funny, last year we gave our full attention to the main opera theater, to the Staatsoper of Vienna, and this season we are giving also a lot of our highlights to the Theater an der Wien, which is a much more adventurous in terms of repertoire house. And I have to say one thing, this is a little bit silly, but for someone who really likes paper goods and products, I enjoy buying tickets not online, although I do buy them mostly online. I do enjoy going to actual, theater or concert hall and actually purchasing physical tickets. And I think that the season's design that Theater an der Wien has is really beautiful. These are their colors, and they put it in this nice little envelope for you. And I don't know, for someone who is as into that like myself, the paper goods, this makes me really happy. You can see all of their season, all of the works coming up just right here on the back. I think it's just really
I like the
pretty
colors
and
very much.
It's really stylish. So little things like that I think can make your experience feel really somehow elevated and special. So I will try to buy more tickets, not online and in person.
Yeah, because it's like the classical music world, theaters and concert halls, of course everybody is trying to be a bit more fresh and young hip, and it's difficult because it's still a very particular art of events. So I think here it's really it's very elegant also, and noble, really but cool. very fresh and young.
But having said that, we gave our attention last season to the Staatsoper. Of course, we are still giving it a lot of attention this season. Of course. And I don't know, it so happens that the opera is just like the beating heart of the city. So the majority of things we're talking about somehow evolve around the opera theater. So today I will talk about an opera by Charles Gounod, whom we also mentioned in our first season, and more or less in depth, but I would like to talk about him and French music a little bit more today. And the opera that we want to introduce as a highlight is going to be Faust. Now, Faust is, of course, a topic that's done and overdone and redone by I don't know, like hundreds, I think. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but tens and tens of composers. It seems like it didn't leave anyone cold. So from Beethoven to, I don't know, our day, everybody wants to write something related to Faust, and there are many variants. And then there are literature pieces inspired by Goethe's work that then people write about. So it's like a whole thing, right? And then you have some that are more famous and others that are less famous. Of course, for us pianists, the epitome of the Faustian world is Liszt's Mephisto Waltzer, that all teenage pianists and older want to play and like, you know, get super excited about like the highlight of pianistic music. But I think of the operas, probably the Gounod's Faust, Gounod, I was going to say the Gounod's Faust is the most famous one. Now, it is interesting to me that when we think about French music, even us, I think I speak freely for all musicians, I shouldn't, but you know, even the two of us, most people think, okay, French music somehow in our brain starts with Impressionism, with Ravel and Debussy. I don't know why that is. And then you start thinking actually about all of the French composers, you know, who predate them. And there's so many people and all of them are so good. But somehow in musical mind, they are not part of your thought process. I don't know. So French opera has its tradition and roots all the way back in the Baroque time. In the Rameau and the Couperin times. And so it's a huge tradition, right? It's just a little bit younger than Italian opera, and that yet you don't think about it. I don't know, at least I have that problem. So now this was too much of an off-topic thing. But Charles Gounod, just to remind you, was born in 1818. I have a very hard time remembering dates, numbers in general, and studying music history was always not a challenge, but I would memorize the dates and then instantly forget them, except a couple of dates that I do not forget. And Gounod's birthday, not very practical, but happens to be one of them, because 1818 is so easy to memorize. Okay, so it's like obviously first half of 19th century, born in a very artistic musical family, very talented child. His mother was a pianist. The whole family like supported his interest. His mother started giving him music lessons, but then they had high hopes he would become a lawyer. I think we already talked about that. Notable thing about Gounod is that he was a brilliant student at the Paris Conservatory, which already to think that at the time already this was such a prestigious institution and remains such an institution for music education till today, and that he was the winner of the Prize of Rome, Prix de Rome, which is a very prestigious award that would give stipend to French musicians, composers to go study in Italy. But at the time, it also included Austria and Prussia as part of the stipend. And another fascinating thing, Prix de Rome still exists today, and there are still people winning it. Yeah. So this tradition is, of course, really fantastic. And at the time of his Prix de Rome studies, Gounod was incredibly impressed by Italian visual art and fell absolutely in love with Michelangelo's work, which one of the winners a couple years back before him, Berlioz, was not impressed. This is really always a big surprise for me. He didn't like the visual arts of Italy. And so Gounod really tried to be as efficient as possible in his times, absorbing a lot of Italian culture and also a lot of Italian music. And he really devoted himself to study of also Italian opera. And he has this funny quote that he really didn't like his contemporaries, the composers of Italian opera of his time, which included, for instance, Bellini. He considered them to be vines that were leeching off of Rossini's talent, which I think is a very funny quote. So this was a very inspiring time for him, and he met a bunch of people. Notably, he met Paulina Vira Zhuk, which was a very famous singer of the time, who was instrumental in helping him get his career to a different level and getting him commissions for operas, and also the sister of Felix Mendelssohn, Fanny, who also helped him with his career. So, you know, even back in the day, networking and forming connections during your studies would get you, far in life. So fast forward to many years, he became a very well-established composer in France. He was a professor at the conservatory, and thanks to his, friendship and, as they say, romantic involvement with Paulina Vira Zhuk, he was getting also gigs to write operas, which is how he got this possibility to write the Faust, one of his earlier operas. Now, with Faust at the time, there were the same titled operas happening in German-speaking world. His was not the first, so they renamed it to Marguerite, and then they renamed it to Gretchen, which in German tradition, Marguerite is called Gretchen. Many of you might remember Schubert's song Gretchen am Spindlet, which is also Faust, one of the Faust-inspired works. And so she is not Marguerite there, but she is Gretchen. And so this was one of the titles of the opera. And one interesting thing that I also didn't know, this is the opera that was the first thing that the Metropolitan Opera in New York ever staged. It was the one that it opened with, and is one of the most performed operas at the Met.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's a bit unexpected.
It is a bit unexpected. But it is just lovely melodies, French, romantic. French opera has also this particular charm, of course, different language, different aesthetic. And I think this is a really enjoyable piece of work. And in this particular production in Vienna will be one artist who would like to highlight the wonderful soprano, Olga Kulczynska, Ukrainian soprano, in the title role. And I have not yet heard her live, but I have heard many great things, including from some of my actual colleagues and students who have experienced her live. And so I'm also very excited to go here. And I think, definitely something worth checking out. One of the most performed operas at the Met. Can you believe that?
Very interesting.
Yeah. I think I've talked enough about Gounod.
No, not enough. It's very curious. For violinists, of course. For pianists, it's Mephistopheles. For violinists, it's the Fantasy by Wieniawski on the themes of Faust. This is the first piece that you would get to introduce the opera through this piece. And usually you play it very young. You are probably not yet heard or saw the opera yet, and your teacher is telling you, "Oh, this is a theme of Margarita," and you're like, "Yes, I know it's a theme,
exactly.
But what does it mean?"
It means nothing to you at the time.
Even if a teacher tries to kind of explain the things for you, but when you're 11 years old, it's a bit of a it might be a tough topic to dive in. But it's a great
Liszt
piece.
And his waltzes. Liszt actually also has a Gounod Liszt waltz, like a reworking paraphrase of the Gounod music. It's called Gounod waltz. So.
Okay.
He has both. He has all sorts of things.
Liszt had everything.
He has everything. He has everything.
Yeah. We should talk about him at some point.
We will.
Yeah. Also, State Opera House in collaboration with the Institute of Musicology of University Vienna is organizing a symposium dedicated to Bellini.
One of the liches of Rossini.
So 3 days dedicated to him and his 11 operas in the Staatsoper in Gustav Mahler Hall, I think. So there are going to be many professors, musicologists who are specializing in his music, and you can dive into the modern approach of the research of productions of his operas itself, interpretations. So if you are a fan of the creator of the infinite lines, or I think he had a nickname, right? The Swan of Catania, or because he was born in Sicily, and he's very famous for his very long lines that everybody admired. Verdi, Chopin, even Wagner, although he didn't admire a lot of his colleagues. Wink, wink. So it tells you something. Or if you're a fan of opera, it's can be very, very exciting, because you cannot really substitute this real human interaction.
You just stole my
connection.
line. I was going to make a connection and say that Gounod Liszt, and then apropos pianists Chopin and Bellini. But to me, this is always. I'm still saying it. I'm still saying it.
My line.
To me, it's like now that you mentioned Chopin. To me, it's really strange that Chopin adored Bellini that much, and he was extremely esteemed in his lifetime. People would put him at the same level as like Bach and Beethoven. And
you mean Bellini?
Yeah, Bellini.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and
he actually lived very short life, like 30. I was shocked. 33 years. Oh, I mean, it's incredible how much he achieved and what kind of like place in the history of music he has. No?
Yeah. So Chopin, he considered, for instance, Norma to be one of the the pieces of music. Like the previous episode, you were mentioning people admiring Don Giovanni by Mozart. For him, this was like the normal. By the way, going back to this topic, Gounod, when he first heard Don Giovanni, he had this like incredible, life-changing experience from beginning till the end. He was describing it as like a transformative, phenomenal musical experience.
Can you? Is it like in his letters or?
I don't know. It's just a quote. I probably wrote it down.
I will check it out.
I didn't hear
next
it from
time.
him.
I will find it. I will read it.
So sorry.
No. That's all. It's 3 days of Bellini.
That's a little bit a lot, but good
I
for
think
him.
it's very good.
I like Bellini. I like Bellini a lot, not as much as maybe Chopin. I prefer Chopin, definitely. But if these wonderful lines that Chopin gives to us were inspired by Bellini in his attempts to copy his vocal lines, then big thank you to Bellini.
Yeah. Tell us about the ballet. Yeah. Unfortunately, I couldn't come because I got ill, but you were there. Tell us.
Yes, so last episode, once again, we gave a little bit of a we introduced the ballet of Alexander Ratmansky, the Ukrainian-American choreographer working in New York, who brought his ballet from 2020 called Kallirhoe. I think I still don't know how to pronounce that in English. Alexei. Yeah. What did I say? Alexander? I'm sorry. So, sorry. Oh. And so the ballet, he staged it in 2020 in America, and this was the European premiere. Fantastically well attended, full beyond words. The website was crashing when we were trying to purchase tickets. It was like almost like a Taylor Swift level. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but excitement. A lot of people, slightly different audience that I'm used to. I was surrounded by a lot of younger, fit people. I think there were choreography students, young dancers, all extremely excited. And after the first half, in the intermission, when they were clapping, they were all like, wow, the teenagers. And that should tell you something, because it's not very easy to impress teenagers to such an extent. But I thought it was spectacular. I thought it was just, the choreography was magnificent. I would love to watch it again. Costumes, beautiful. Staging seemed cool, but mostly like really choreography really stood out. There were so many cool movements. If I were a dancer, I would probably know the names of all of those movements, even though I took some ballet lessons as a kid. Nothing stuck in my brain, but it was really lovely. The only thing, strangely enough, I did not enjoy as much and didn't think was at the level was the music. And it's a little bit weird that I'm going to say that. I don't know why. I did not expect that. And I thought that the arrangement, because the original score for orchestra was slightly rearranged in such a way that piano got a pretty important, significant role in the orchestration, which piano, of course, as you know, is not a normal part of the orchestra, but it was beautifully amplified. It was given a whole voice of its own. Actually, the last 3 times I think I've been to the opera, there is a piano playing, which is really weird. But it was beautiful playing, everything, but just somehow the music was a little bit too plain and a little bit too dated and a little bit too wannabe ethnic without being like really it was like more the flavor than the essence of the somehow regional music that they were going for. So that was, to me, a little bit disappointed. I don't think I was in the majority. I think majority of people did not pay attention to that and loved the music as well, but the choreography was just outstanding. I don't have more vocabulary to say that. It was just really cool. Like, it was exciting. They were using movements and gestures that I had never seen before, a lot that I had seen before, but used in a very cool shape. And then the lines and the movements of the dancers, and the whole staging was just excellent. Costumes, like I said, were also cool. A lot of very attractive people moving around on stage. Story, I thought, was a little bit silly, but that's just me.
The story, you mean?
I did not like the story. To me, such a story does not qualify as a romance like romanticizing violence against women is
the whole history of opera and
exactly
ballet.
does not work really very much. And I think that the younger people were also a little bit skeptical of the storyline. Although in ballet, unlike in opera, at least in opera you don't hear the words, but you can read them, so you have a chance of following the storyline. In ballet, oftentimes if you don't know the storyline, then you will get lost even more, because some things are really not obvious, but they are just happening and you have no idea who these people are. Like, it's mostly the how should I say, the characters that get introduced. And I have actually never watched ballet with, like, not the subtitles, but the little screens that you have for subtitles. So I was curious if there would be like some kind of storyline or the description of the scene, or maybe at least the character, and it was not there. So I think that it would have been really excellent if they had at least said who these ones are, because I knew the story more or less, but it's confusing, especially if you're a little bit far and they're wearing somewhat similar costumes. It's not very easy to tell who is who, and like just following the whole storyline becomes a little bit confusing. But in the end, we don't go to opera and to ballet for the storyline, do we?
Yeah.
So there's that. I mean, maybe some people do, but I don't. And so...
and there are many performances are going to happen, so it's not finished yet. Through January, I think.
Through
I will
January,
go later
it is
also,
very likely that I will go with you, because I really loved it and I would love to see it again.
Yeah.
And I don't go to things twice. You do. I don't. So this for me is already a sign of it being really, really spectacular. I would love to see more of his work, more of his ballet. Like I said, I have seen his much earlier works 1,000 years ago. I remember them being exciting and fresh, but obviously he's developed a lot since then, so it would be really exciting to see more.
Also, there is an introduction, there's a recording of the introduction to this ballet on the YouTube channel of the State Opera House. I went to this matinee introduction, and afternoon. It was very interesting. There is a bit of interview with Ratmansky, but also like around 30 minutes of the rehearsing process with the ballet dancers. So they have it recorded in a very good quality. So if you want to have a look, check it out. It was very interesting in person. So I believe it might be also interesting in the recording.
And I think that's it for today. And we're very happy that you spent this time with us. Please, as always, like, subscribe, write us your thoughts. Tell us if you have any particular requests for us to tell you more about a certain composer. We'd be happy to also give you like a deeper look or our views on some particular names, and we'd be happy to take those requests should you have any. And I guess we'll see you in the next episode. Stay warm, stay cozy, and enjoy the art.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.